Man, let me ask you something. What happens when a country with more money than God decides to take over the world's most popular sport? Think about that for a second. Football's been dominated for decades by Europe, the Champions League, the Premier League, La Liga, these giants with insane history and tradition. And suddenly, out of nowhere, you've got the Saudi Pro League coming in, throwing numbers at players that don't even sound real, offering contracts so massive you and I can't even wrap our heads around them. And boom, guys we grew up watching, legends of the game, are suddenly wearing Saudi kits, scoring goals in stadiums half the world never even cared about before. And it's like, hold on, what the hell is happening here? Is this the real future of football? Is this the moment where the whole balance shifts east? Or is this just a flashy bubble that'll burst once the novelty wears off? That's what I want to dig into today, man, because this is bigger than just transfers, bigger than just money. This is about legacy, about global influence, about how the entire sport could change in ways we never saw coming. And you got to admit, whether you love it or hate it, you can't take your eyes off it. Man, the craziest thing about the Saudi Pro League right now is just how much money they're throwing around. It's like Monopoly cash, but in real life. And you sit back and you're like, holy shit. Cristiano Ronaldo gets dropped in there and suddenly the floodgates open. Neymar shows up, Benzema shows up, Kante, Mane, and all these guys who are like defining players in Europe for over a decade now. They're out there in the desert balling on these massive contracts that are so insane you can't even wrap your head around it, like 200 million, 300 million. You think of generational wealth, and that's not even scratching the surface. These guys are getting lifetime security just for playing a couple seasons. And it makes you wonder, is this sustainable or is it just this crazy experiment that they're running? Because money in football has always been a factor, right? Like the Premier League grew because of TV money. Clubs like PSG and City blew up because of state money. But this is different. This is like oil fueled. We'll buy whoever we want and change the game money. And when you see these stars going, you start questioning motives. Like, are these guys chasing competition or are they cashing out? And at the same time, you can't even blame them because if somebody put $500 million on the table for 2 years, who the hell says no to that? But then you think about the ripple effect, like kids growing up watching Neymar, Ronaldo, and Saudi jerseys instead of Champions League nights. What does that do to the global football culture? What does that do to Europe? And suddenly this whole thing feels like a power play, not just football, but like geopolitics mixed with sport. And that's what makes it so wild. What's wild about the Saudi Pro League is when you look at the global impact, it's not just about signing big names, it's about shaking the whole damn football pyramid. Like for decades, we've been wired to think the Premier League is the top. La Liga has history, Champions League is the peak of competition, and suddenly you've got this new player on the board saying, hey, we've got more money than all of you combined, we'll just buy the stars and flip the script. And you gotta wonder how that shifts the balance of power, because football is more than just a game. It's this global entertainment monster, billions of eyeballs, billions of dollars. And if Saudi can pull even a fraction of that audience away from Europe, that's huge. That's game change. But the problem is competition. Like, can Al Nassr or Al Hilal actually compete with Real Madrid or Man City on the pitch? Because right now the quality gap is massive. The infrastructure isn't there yet. The youth academies aren't producing world-class kids. The stadium atmosphere doesn't have that same electricity. So the global impact really comes down to whether this is just a highlight reel for aging stars, or if they can genuinely create a league that people in Brazil, the US, Europe will tune into religiously, like the way they tune into Champions League nights. And that's the big question, because if it's just hype, people will move on. But if they actually invest long-term, build culture, build competition, then you could be looking at a genuine rival to Europe, and that's what scares you away. That's what shakes the Premier League, because the money is bottomless and the ambition is there, and history shows when you mix those two, crazy things can happen. The thing that really blows my mind about players moving to the Saudi Pro League is trying to figure out what's actually driving them, because on one hand, you've got this life-changing money like generational wealth, the kind of money that sets up your grandkids and their grandkid, and it's almost impossible to say no to that. But then you start questioning the legacy part, like what does it do to your story as a player? Are you remembered as the guy who fought at the highest level until the very end, or as the guy who cashed out and went to play in a league that people still don't really respect globally? And that's where the conversation gets interesting, because with someone like Ronaldo, it almost made sense. He's done everything in Europe, he's older, he's proving he can still ball out. But when you see guys like Neymar, even players still in their prime years moving over, you start asking if it's ambition or just comfort, and the legacy debate becomes tricky. Because football fans are brutal, man. They want gladiators, they want warriors who stay in the Colosseum. They don't want to see their heroes playing in what they see as an exhibition league. And yet, legacy is also about impact. Like maybe these guys are the pioneers who take the game global. Maybe in 20 years we'll look back and say, holy shit, Ronaldo and Neymar laid the foundation for a league that became massive, and that's part of their legend. So it's complicated, it's money, it's ego, it's lifestyle, it's legacy, all wrapped up. And the crazy part is you don't really know until the story is written, because right now it's still being written in real time. What's really wild about the Saudi Pro League is when you zoom out, it's not just about football at all. It's about culture and politics and power, because you got to understand, Saudi Arabia isn't just throwing billions at the game for fun. This is part of a way bigger picture. They're trying to rebrand the whole country, change the global perception, use football as soft power. And it's smart, because football isn't just a sport. It's this universal language, like music. Everybody gets it. Everybody connects with. So if you get Ronaldo, Neymar, Benzema, all these guys out there playing in your league, suddenly the world's cameras are on you. Suddenly people who never even thought of Saudi Arabia are streaming games, following clubs, learning about the culture, and that's influence. That's a political move dressed up as entertainment, and you've seen it before with the Olympics, with the World Cup in Qatar, but this is different because it's not just a one-off event. This is a whole league, week in and week out, pulling attention that plays into that bigger strategy of diversifying beyond oil, pushing tourism, building a modern identity. But then you also got to ask, how much of this is genuine love for the sport and how much is image control? Because when governments pump this kind of money into football, it's never just about the game. It's about flexing. It's about saying we can do what Europe can do, maybe even bigger. And if you're a fan, you can't ignore that, because every signing, every match, it's not just about goals. It's about this larger chessboard where football is the piece they're moving to win global attention. And that makes the Saudi Pro League way more than just hype. It makes it a state. The big question everyone's got about the Saudi Pro League is whether this thing has actual legs, or if it's just a shiny, expensive bubble that's going to pop once the novelty wears off. Because hype is easy. You throw $500 million at Ronaldo, Neymar, Benzema, the whole world's going to talk. Headlines everywhere, TikTok's blowing up, but long-term growth, that's the real challenge. That's where the Premier League and La Liga built their empires. It wasn't overnight. It was decades of history, rivalries, youth academies producing insane global fan bases passed down from father to son. And Saudi doesn't have that yet. What they've got is this massive injection of cash and ambition. But if they want to make it stick, they've got to build infrastructure, grassroots systems, proper competition that feels authentic, not just like an all-star retirement league. And that's the gamble, because if they keep signing older superstars without developing young, homegrown ballers, fans will eventually tune out. It'll feel like a show, not a league. But if they manage to pull in younger guys, create competitive club, get local fans hyped, the same way fans in Liverpool or Madrid are, then you could see this thing snowball into something permanent. And the scary part is, they've got the resources to do it, like unlimited money, unlimited political backing. And once you have that, even the craziest projects can suddenly work. So right now it feels like a coin flip. Maybe it's the start of a new football era. Maybe it's just a super expensive sideshow. But the fact that we're even asking that question shows how much disruption they've already caused. And that's why this whole thing is so damn fascinating. So at the end of the day, the Saudi Pro League is like this giant question mark hovering over football right now. It's either the start of a brand new chapter in the sport, or just this wild, expensive experiment that's going to fade when the hype dies down. And honestly, both outcomes are possible, because on one hand, you've got unlimited money, star power, political will, all the tools you need to change the game forever. But on the other, history shows us that you can't just buy culture. You can't buy decades of rivalries. You can't buy the blood and sweat of generations of players and fans. That stuff takes time. It takes authenticity. It takes pain and glory and heartbreak. And that's what makes football magical. So right now, we're living through this insane transitional moment where nobody really knows where the balance of power is going to land. And that's what makes it so exciting to watch, man, because every transfer, every goal, every headline feels like it's part of something big, like history being written right in front of us. And whether this league becomes the future or just a footnote, it's a hell of a ride to witness. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for listening. I appreciate the time. Good luck with whatever you're chasing in life. Keep grinding, keep enjoying the beautiful game, and I'll catch you on the next one. Much love and respect.